Good afternoon, everyone. Very good afternoon, Nitesh, Shahid, Khushi, Pranav. Good to see you all again. So many people. Awesome. Hope you all had a good lunch. Not so good that this class will make you sleep. Should not make you sleep. Not a very sumptuous lunch which will make you doze off. Fine. And I know that CA students generally are very serious, so we don't take things lightly. So you will not doze off, is what I'm confident about. Very well. Good. So today we will continue our discussion on supply. Okay, so we had discussed supply, right? Last time we had discussed on supply on the basic concepts. Today we'll read it to the next level because the supply has so many facets to it, so many clarifications. So if it is a taxable supply, then we have schedules also. So we have to understand what is there in the schedules. What are the clarifications? Because sometimes it becomes very difficult to identify whether a transaction is supply or not a supply. So we have to understand this in a better manner. So just a quick recap. We started discussing on the taxable event. After understanding the taxable event under previous laws, we understood what is the taxable event under GST, which is supply, right? Once we know that taxable event is supply, it is very important to understand what is supply. So we discussed what is the definition of supply. Supply definition is given in section 7. So once we understand section 7, then what happens? What is there in section 7? Section 7 has various subsections, right? 7(1)(a) says supply includes all forms of supply. Then it produces 8 terms, and the important things what is required to qualify as a supply is it should be for a consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. So two limbs are compulsory. That 7(1)(a) to satisfy supply under 7(1)(a), it should be for a consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. Even if one of these two important ingredients is missing, then it will not be supply, right? Then we moved into the exceptions, which is first, before that exception came in, that exception is through 7(1)(b), wherein import of services, in case of import of services, you don't need that it should be in the course or furtherance of business. It can be not in the course of furtherance of business, still GST will be leviable. Okay. And then the third exception was, so this was the first exception where it is not in the course of furtherance of business, that is import of service. Second is when it is in the course of import of, it is in the course of business, but if there is no consideration, still it is supply. What can that situation be? Those situations are specified in Schedule 1. Okay. And 7(1)(a) we read, 7(1)(b), then 7(1)(c). Then amendment came in by way of 7(1)(a), wherein it says that any activities or transactions by a person other than an individual to its members or constituents for cash, deferred payment, or any other valuable consideration is a supply. What is this covering? This is covering all the services by a association, by a club, by a residential welfare association. All of that gets covered under 7(1)(a). Then we understood 7(1)(a), where it is a classification where it says that if anything is supply under 7(1), then 7(1)(a) or 7(1)(b) or 7(1)(c), then 7(1)(a), 7(1)(a) will provide the classification whether it is supply of goods or supply of services. Then we discuss 7(2), wherein Schedule 3 will come in here because Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 we have learned. Now Schedule 3 will come in, where it says that notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, whatever is stated in Schedule 3 will be treated as no supply. It will be treated neither as supply of goods nor a supply of services. Then we said that government has special powers to by notification decide what is supply of goods and not a service, and what is supply of services, not a goods. We understood the parameters of supply in detail. We were discussing the slide on supply. Someone is asking a question before that. सर क्या डिसोल्यूशन ऑफ अ फर्म के टाइम पार्टनर्स द्वारा उनके असेट्स वापस ले जाने में 71AA लगेगा? लग सकता है, बिकॉज 71 सेज दैट एनी काइंड ऑफ 71A इज anybody other than a firm, other than an individual. So firm is other than individual. So any kind of supply by the firm to the individual, then it will be supply. Okay, if the firm sells some assets to the partner, okay, then if it's a dissolution, then it's a consideration. So one is consideration, one is any sale of assets. If there is any sale of assets by the firm, then 71AA will apply. Otherwise, it will not apply. Okay. But if it is not sale, correct, since it's a partnership firm, they will not sell it. Then what are they doing for that? They will say that it is used for the personal purpose. So any kind of transaction of transfer of business assets to personal assets, we will see under Schedule 2 that it is a supply of service, right? Because when you bought something, the government gave you the credit. Now, when you're not selling it, then you may have to reverse the credit. So either reverse the credit or pay the output tax. So in this case, I think reversal the credit will be a correct option because you are not making any supply, only that on the dissolution of the firm, the assets which are lying are not getting disposed of. In that case, it will be, you will have to reverse the input tax credit. So then we understood concept of supply, right? What are the various limbs? It excludes Schedule 2, Schedule 3, which is there in Section 7.2, and activities to be treated as supply of goods or supply of services is given in 7.1A read with Schedule 2. We understood also the definition of goods and the definition of services. Then the 8 forms of supply, we are almost done with this. We have understood the various examples. Then we understood what is consideration, right? Very important. What is a consideration? Consideration can flow from anybody to anybody. It is not necessary that recipient only has to pay it. And then we understood the definition of related person, right? We understood also what is covered under Schedule 1. Schedule 1, which says that input tax credit का मतलब Nitesh, when we deal with input, so input tax credit, when we understand the concept of input tax credit, then we will tell you what is the meaning of reversal. But now to answer your question, you can claim something called as a input tax credit, correct? If somebody is selling goods to you, it is purchase for you. So when you're purchasing it, it is your credit. Now that credit, if you don't, you will use fully, correct? If you use fully, it is called as claiming the credit. But if you claim part of it and some credit, you should not claim because of these things, like how we are saying that any sale which is happening on which you should not claim the credit, there you will get the credit, but you will claim less credit. So to the extent of less claiming, that is called as reversal of credit. Okay. So you get full credit, then you reverse it. That is called as reversal of credit. We will still consideration and its exception. Okay, so we'll go back to consideration and its exceptions. Perfect. Okay, consideration, we understood. Consideration means any payment. Now that consideration, is it necessary that it should be monetary? Yes, it can be monetary or it can be non-monetary also. Consideration, it's not necessary that it should flow from the recipient. It can flow from any other person who is somehow related to the recipient, right? Only if it is related, he will pay. Correct. I will not pay any kind of consideration for someone whom I don't know. So generally, consideration can be paid by any other person also. Then subsidy given by the central government and state government is not a consideration, is not a supply. So we gave an example whether subsidy given by Melinda Gates Foundation will be a supply. We understood that it will be a supply because it is not a central government or a state government. Then a deposit given, is it a supply? Is it a consideration? What do you think? Why deposit is not a consideration? It is a kind of security because until it is not used, it is not consideration. Yes, it is a kind of security. It is not that if I do any transaction in money, it means that I am making a supply or I've received some supply, correct? So any kind of monetary transaction, consideration will also flow from the receiver to the supplier. But in case of a deposit, even though it happens that the intention or the nature of deposit itself is it is not a towards a supply. So it is not a consideration unless the supplier uses it for a said supply, unless the supplier applies it. So unless the supplier applies that consideration for the supply, it is not a consideration. Now consideration, another very important is consideration has to be quid pro quo, which means you have to get something in return, then only it's a consideration. So if you make any donation, there is a transaction in money, but you're not getting anything in return. So there is no quid pro quo. That's why it's not a consideration in case of a donation. So there has to be two-way transaction. I buy something and I pay you. So I've got some goods, so I'm paying you. If you're a professional, you're providing some services. A professional providing services gets the consideration for the provision of service. That's why it is a consideration. Something for something can be either tangible or intangible. In case of services, it will be intangible, but in case of goods, it will be tangible. So consideration against a goods or supply of service, both is valid. Okay, there has to be a two-way transaction. Sir, monetary value for forbearance is included? Yes, monetary value for anything is included. So when we just go to the next slides, you will understand that forbearance, tolerance, anything, any monetary value for any kind of direct or indirect supply is all consideration. So donations generally they are one-sided, as you have said that wherein the receiving entity, whom will you pay? You'll pay a donation. You'll contribute some donation to a NGO or a charitable organization or a trust or a Section 8 company, correct? These are the places where you make donation. Now, whenever we make donation, what is the difference between consideration and supply? Lot of difference. When you make a supply, okay, supply is like a big picture. What is supply? We understood. When you sell something, you provide some services, it is a supply. For supply, you will need two ingredients. One is called consideration. So it should be for a consideration. The supply itself, what you're doing, should be towards consideration. Okay. So in case of donations, there is a consideration, but there is no supply. So it is not a supply because there is no supply involved in it. However, if there exists a quid is quid pro quo. Now, if you make any donation and there is a quid pro quo, wherein you tell the other person that I will give you donation, but you have to do something for me, for where which mostly what it will happen is you have to do something, for example, that you have to market my products when I give you a donation. I will give you a donation, but you have to market my products. You have to spread that information that I am a very good company and I'm providing good products. Okay, so they have to do some kind of a marketing for the supplier, for the person who's giving donation. Then there is quid pro quo. If there is quid pro quo, then donation is considered as a consideration for the supply. जैसे मैं किसी को डोनेट करता हूँ, दान करता हूँ और बाद में बोलता हूँ उनको कि आपको मेरी कंपनी का मार्केटिंग करना पड़ेगा, आपके जो भी आपके कस्टमर्स है या फिर जो भी आपको डोनेशन कर रहे हैं, आपके रिसिप्ट्स पे, डोनेशन रिसिप्ट्स पे मेरा नाम आना चाहिए. सो इट इज वेरी वेरी पॉसिबल कि जब आप किसी रिटर्न का एक्सपेक्ट करते हो, राइट, नॉट इन मॉनेटरी टर्म्स, क्योंकि मॉनेटरी टर्म्स तो आप दे रहे हो, लेकिन वो एनजीओ से कुछ आपका गुडविल बढ़ रहा है, आप चाहते हो कि उसके काम से आपकी मार्केटिंग हो, तब वहां पे क्विड प्रो क्यो हो जाता है. फिर वो डोनेशन डोनेशन नहीं कहा जाएगा, डोनेशन कहा जाएगा कि आप पे कर रहे हो किसी सप्लाई के लिए. सप्लाई कौन करेगा? तब वो एनजीओ आपको सप्लाई कर रही है, इसीलिए आप कुछ पैसे दे रहे हो, फिर एनजीओ के ऊपर जीएसटी लग सकता है। ओके, इवन दो यू आर टेलिंग इट, बट अल्टीमेटली जीएसटी किसके ऊपर लगता है? जीएसटी विल बी चार्ज ऑन whom? Correct. NGO, GST will be charged. No, GST will be चार्ज बाय द एनजीओ। तो एनजीओ या फिर सप्लायर, जो सप्लायर है उसके ऊपर लगेगा, डोनर को नहीं लगेगा, बिकॉज डोनर इज गिविंग इट। सप्लाई यहाँ पे कौन कर रहा है? द एनजीओ इज गिविंग। जनरली आप ये समझ लीजिए, हु विल बी द सप्लायर। अगर मैं आपको कुछ सप्लाई करता हूं, ओके, आई एम सप्लाइंग टू यू, तो पैसे कौन देगा? यू विल गिव मनी टू मी, correct? So when there is any flow of transaction from the supplier to the vendor, I am supplying to you, you are giving me the money. तो आप ये समझ लीजिए, the person who is receiving the money is always the supplier. मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस ये लॉजिक अप्लाई होगा। द पर्सन, अगर आपको सप्लायर और रिसीवर में कंफ्यूजन है, तो देन सप्लायर वो होगा जो सप्लाई कर रहा है, जो कंसिडरेशन पे कर रहा है वो रिसीवर है। Okay, so Praveen, what I'm trying to say is that always consider that if there is a consideration being paid from one person to another person, then who will be considered as a supplier and receiver? Because you have to understand that the person who is getting providing the sales or providing a services, he will get the consideration in return, correct? So the person who receives the consideration is always the supplier, because the person who will receive it, he cannot be the receiver. He is not the receiver and he'll receive the money. He will be the supplier. Once a person who receives the consideration, he is the supplier. NGO received the money, correct? NGO received the money, so it means he is the supplier. So NGO will be liable to GST. So then donor will pay GST. No, donor will not pay GST. It is the donee. The person who receives the donation is called donee. The person who gives the donation is called the donor. So donor will give money to the donee. The donee is receiving the money. So he is the supplier. So that is when a donation gets supplied. But now there is a clarification saying that, boss, on all donations, if you levy GST, then it will be incorrect. Why? Because there are, however, in the name of the donor is displayed as an expression of gratitude and public recognition of donor's philanthropy, and it is not aimed at giving publicity to the donor, then there is no supply of service. Okay? Jesse, what is this sentence trying to say is, if I have made any donation, I have made any donation to a NGO. Now that NGO says that, okay, since you have given us a donation and there is nothing in return which you need, but still as a matter of gesture, as a matter of expression of our gratitude towards the donation what you have made, we'll just mention in our programs or our products donated by, right? So it cannot be on every product. Suppose a company, Infosys is there. Infosys gives a lorry, a kind of a mini truck to a company, to a NGO, which provides food to all the school students. It's called as Akshay Patra. Now, in this Akshay Patra scheme, Infosys has given a bus to the school. Now, the school says, okay, thank you very much, and we will mention your name. So they'll just mention the name saying that, okay, donated by Infosys. Usme, neither the donor has told anything, but I'm just expressing it as a gratitude. So I'm mentioning the name. In that case, it will not be treated as a quid pro quo. It's only a recognition for the supply made. So there is no quid pro quo. Then the donation is not liable to GST. So when GST is not levied, when all the following three conditions are satisfied. First is, gift is made to a charitable organization. Then payment has the character of gift or donation, and the Purpose is philanthropic. That is, it leads to no commercial gain. There is no commercial gain which the donor gets in, and there is no advertisement what the donor gets it. Then it will be out of GST. समझ गए? So सप्लायर और डोनी में कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है. करेक्ट. सो डोनर डोनी तो एक ट्रांजैक्शन हो गया. सप्लायर और रिसीवर मेन ट्रांजैक्शन है. आपको नॉर्मली सप्लायर कौन है पता चल जाएगा. Correct. In any transaction, who is supplying goods or providing services is the supplier. But there could be complicated transactions. जैसे यहाँ पे डोनेशन में कुछ तो सप्लाई नहीं हो रहा है, but the circular says that if something in return is given by the NGO, then it is a supply. So in that transaction हमको देखना पड़ेगा कि कौन सप्लायर है कौन रिसीवर है. करेक्ट. बिकॉज यहाँ पे तो नॉर्मल सिचुएशंस में सप्लाई नहीं है. तो फिर इस सिचुएशन में आप कैसे डिसाइड करोगे कौन सप्लायर है. इस केस में हम ऐसे डिसाइड करेंगे कि जो कंसिडरेशन रिसीव कर रहा है वो है सप्लायर. ठीक है. आई एम आस्किंग डोनर विल सब पे जीएसटी टू द डोनी. करेक्ट. अगर डोनी जीएसटी चार्ज कर रहा है तो फिर डोनर पे करेगा एंड देन डोनी विल डिपॉजिट द गवर्नमेंट. यूर राइट. बट जनरली क्या होता है डोनेशन लेने वाले कभी जीएसटी चार्ज नहीं करते हैं. अगर करते हैं तो फिर जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन लेके करते हैं तो अच्छी बात है. Otherwise, generally they don't. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to see that who is the person who's making the payment. Correct? The donor is making payment to the donee. Then donee is treated as a provider of service. The NGO is treated as a provider of service. फिलैंथ्रोपिक का मतलब सिंपल है. हमने यहाँ पे भी बताया दैट इट लीड्स टू नो कमर्शियल गेन. कुछ भी कमर्शियल गेन की एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं है, उसे कहते हैं फिलैंथ्रोपिक. What in case of a foreign person donating to India, he did not do for a foreign charity commercial gain. Since he's not done it for a commercial gain, then it is a donation. So it could be a person in India or outside India. Donation which is done for a philanthropic reason is a donation. One who receives consideration is the supplier. Correct. One who receives the consideration is the supplier. That's what I'm saying. तो एनजीओ को सप्लायर मानेंगे. हाँ. तो एनजीओ अगर क्विड प्रो क्यो है तो फिर एनजीओ को सप्लायर मानेंगे. व्हाट इज क्विड प्रो क्यो? क्विड प्रो क्यो हमने वहां पे लास्ट स्लाइड में लिखा था. क्विड प्रो क्यो इज समथिंग फॉर रिटर्न ऑफ समथिंग. कि मुझे डोनेशन मिल रहा है मैं इसको कुछ दूंगा. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ क्विड प्रो क्यो. So this was a clarification on donations which we have clearly understood. और कुछ doubts है इसमें? So there are too many talks that they use their loopholes to avoid tax and bring money to India. Okay. हम legally जो बातें हैं वो समझेंगे. जो news and other things are here. We can draw that reference, but is it helping us is what we have to understand. Very good. So why does government involves in every event, even if it's donation for the benefit of well-being, by putting GST in it? Mr. Aniruddha Kedia, they're not trying to put it, they're trying to find the loopholes because somebody was saying that people use donation as a means to avoid taxes. So what they will do is they will make the structure in such a way that they will form a NGO. NGO will supply something to them and they will fund it by way of donation. But actually what they're doing, instead of opening a branch, they've opened up an NGO, and just to avoid taxes, they're calling donation is exempted. But the nature, the character is that NGO is supplying something to them. For that, they are paying consideration. So in this process, what is happening is they are avoiding the GST. So to get away with such issues, the government has to make some amendments like this and bring clarifications like this. There is a quid pro quo, so it is a transaction liable to GST. Correct. What about in case of political party donations? How does that work? I'm not very clear on that. Okay, so somebody is asking about ATG deduction. ATG deduction you will get, so that is under income tax. So whatever discussion we are doing here, that it is quid pro quo and things like that, those discussion are not there under income tax. So under GST, what will happen is whatever is liable to GST, being that treating that as a quid pro quo is involved. Okay, that will be under GST, but under income tax, whatever donation you're making, that's a genuine donation, you will get that ATG deduction there, no problem with that. Okay, so we understood on consideration, various clarification. Next clarification is in terms of artwork. What happens in case of a artwork? That you are an artist, you do good paintings, or you do good drawings, or you have good interest in the art, so you are making some art piece. Now these art piece which are exhibited at galleries and exhibitions, right? Just displaying at the galleries. Now the art is very nice, but it is very costly. Okay, generally artists, if you have seen many artists, what do? They do a lot of paintings, correct? The costliest painting is one, you know which one? The one which you don't understand, because they draw in such an abstract manner that you can't make out what it is, but the prices of such paintings are so high. Now, if these painters give their work and they are displayed, do you think I will go and buy it? I do not understand only what is there in the painting. Why will I buy it? But somebody has pulled me to the exhibition or to an art gallery, so I've gone. I will not buy anything. Now, is there any supply which is happening by that artist? Is there any kind of a sale which is happening? No, correct? So there is no kind of a supply for the exhibition of artwork. That is what you guys are saying itself is the clarification also saying. So any artwork exhibited at galleries or exhibition, nothing is received. So there is no supply. Only when someone buys, then the actual supplies takes place and applicable GST is payable. Only then it is payable, not otherwise. Correct, Pallavi. If NGO is a supplier, then they will charge GST and pay to the government if it is quid pro quo. If they showcase art, then no GST, right? So BOS portal uploading income tax chapter, but not upload GST first chapter notes. I have already uploaded. I think they have not approved it. Once they approved it, you will also get it. I've already submitted it. Let me just check with them. नीलामी में भी जीएसटी सप्लाई होती है क्या? हाँ, नीलामी ऑक्शन में भी सप्लाई होती है. Whenever you do any auction, right? Then the auctioneer is like an agent, right? तब भी जीएसटी लगता है, बिकॉज दैट इज ऑल्सो सप्लाई. तो इधर आप डायरेक्टली सप्लाई करो या नीलामी में सप्लाई करो, सप्लाई के ऊपर वो भी सप्लाई है, उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा. What if the art gallery collects rupees 10 as entry fees? So then on that entry fees, GST is payable. We will see that under time place of supply, you will see the place of supply for entering the exhibition is separately defined. So ultimately, the art gallery collects entry fees. On that entry fees, GST will be applicable. In this case, if the artist sells it, then artist will pay GST, correct? Because he is a supplier, he will pay it. So the first chapter notes. Okay, first chapter notes already uploaded. Very nice. Wow. So somebody was asking for upload of the first chapters. Pranav has just confirmed that first chapter notes are already uploaded. Please check. How entry phase comes under supply? It comes under supply because you are coming and visiting it, correct? And what is it? It is a kind of a event which is coming in. Now for this event, you are paying a consideration and it is for the purpose of business. They are collecting some money, correct? So in that case, it is a supply. So that's why if you see, very valid point you have taken, sir. In the 8 terms, it is not a sale. Okay, it is not a barter. It is not transfer. It is not exchange. It is not license. It is not rental. It is not lease. It is not disposal. Where does it come? So it fits slightly under lease, because without this payment, if you enter that place, then it is invalid. So they're giving you the permission to visit that place for that 10 minutes. So all of such things wherein a permission is given, which is permitting you to enter. Now, exhibition hall is such big hall. You cannot enter it without permission. Now, by giving that entry fees of rupees 10, you are allowed to get inside. So it is like a kind of a lease, you can tell. In case of lease, we use a full immobile property, but that right to go inside and come, that for to that extent you have a lease right. So that's why it is a supply. So another point is the definition of supply says that supply includes. So generally what we understand apart from this 8 terms, if anything other than 8 terms is there, still it is supply. Okay, so you can't restrict it to these 8 terms. It is defined in these 8 terms, but it says such as, which means anything other than these 8 terms is also a supply. Clear, Meenamrita? Subsidy is not considered as a consideration. Yes, if the subsidy is coming from the central government or state government, Manvi, I'll give you an example. Why consider subsidy is not a consideration? Now I am deciding that I will buy bags. I am a school and I want to buy bags for my students. Now the supplier is saying I will charge you 500 rupees per bag. I say I can't pay so much. Give me some discount. He's given me a discount of 100 rupees. 400 rupees he's charging me for a bag for one student. Now 400 also I cannot afford. He's saying no, below this I cannot give you any more discount. Now what can I do? I want to buy bag for my students. I'm a school, and for the fresh academic year, new students have come. I have to buy bag, right? Now I am a very poor school. I am a very small school. Now school services are exempted. If I provide education services, it is exempted. But when I buy something from third party, they will not get exemption because they will charge GST. No, 400 rupees I also am not able to pay. So I will go to the government saying, government, give me subsidy. Give me subsidy that I should be able to purchase bags for my students. So I will get subsidy approval from the government. I will get, and they will say, okay, 400 rupees is your bag. How much can you pay? I can pay only 100 rupees. Oh my God, 300 rupees? Okay, we'll give you subsidy. So they give me subsidy of 300 rupees with a condition saying that if I give you, what you will do, I don't know. I will give that amount directly to the supplier. So the supplier will give me the bags at 100 rupees and he will get 300 rupees from the government, 100 rupees I'll pay. So what is the sale price for him actually? It is 400, 100 is I am giving to him and 300 government is giving. So GST should ideally be on 400 rupees. But since this is subsidy coming the government, now this government should be state government or central government. So if one of these governments are giving that subsidy, then on that subsidy GST will not apply because already the government is giving it. On that, if he charges GST, then it will become extra burden. So if any kind of subsidy is coming from central government or state government, then GST will not apply. So only on 100 rupees he will charge the GST. Clear? Okay. Some other examples of consideration. Yes, we'll see it. We'll come to the next example of consideration. Now, there is something called as a no claims bonus. Have you seen this no claims bonus anywhere? So in absence of obligation, there is no consideration. Okay, absence of obligation. Correct. If there is no obligation, generally there is no consideration. You're right. Correct, Ashutosh. When the art is sold, then it will be treated as a supply. Insurance, very good. Yes, in insurance you have heard. Anybody else? It is when we do not have to pay insurance for the first year. Oh my God. Okay. Insurance provides NCB. Yes, insurance premium. So there is something. Yeah. So when does NCB involved is when we pay insurance company and the insurance company says, boss, okay, you have paid me premium last year. Now next year you have to pay me lesser premium because the first year premium what you have paid and you have not claimed anything against it. Why do we take insurance? Insurance we take because if something wrong happens, then we don't have to pay the uh, amount and the insurance company will pay it. Now, if you do not claim it, then a discount is given to you. That is called as no claims bonus. Okay. Now, on that no claim bonus, will GST be payable? The government is saying that no claim bonus, you don't have to pay GST because it is not a consideration. It is for the non-claimant of your bonus last payment of your insurance claim last year. So we are only reducing it. It is customer is not estoppeled. The customer can still claim the any claims if he has made. If he has claimed anything, then we will not give him no claim bonus. If he did not claim, then we'll give him no claim bonus deduction. Okay, so we understood the no claim bonus. So these are the various aspects of consideration. Now we'll understand what is business. Definition of business under GST. So what if a government company provides subsidy? Will it be considered as a subsidy or donation? If a government company provides subsidy, then is it a central government or state government? Because the subsidy received only from central government and state government is exempted, but a government company will not be considered as a subsidy. It will be considered as a consideration for that amount and it will be taxable. Right. Okay. So now what is the definition of business? So what we understood that there are two aspects, correct? I'll just stop sharing this. There are two aspects what we have to consider, right? There are one is if a supply has to happen under 4(1)(a), there should be a consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. So we understood very clearly what is consideration. Now we will understand what is business. 7(1)(a), yes, Pranav, we are discussing on 7(1)(a). Is there any fixed percentage of NCB? No, there is no fixed percentage of NCB. It depends on the insurance company. They give a specified amount. There is no fixed percentage as such. Okay. So we have understood consideration. We have understood the various circulars issued by the government on consideration. Now we'll get into the second aspect, which is what is a business? Because when we say that it should be in the course of furtherance of business, what is that in the course of furtherance of business is what we will understand. Now, business is defined as any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, etc. So it can be any kind of a thing. It can be trade, it can be commerce, it can be manufacturing activity, any profession doing any kind of professional services, vocation. All of that is business. It should be incidental. It could be any incidental or ancillary activity to the business. What is vocation? Right. Any kind of skill, what you are using. So I am a person who is doing carpentering services. Is it my trade? No. Is it actually professional in strict terms? May not be, because professions we mean generally doctors, chartered accountants, engineers. But a carpenter should not get out of the GST because he is also supplying something. That's why carpenters, plumbers, they are all considered as providing vocational services who are
Sir,
doing it.
one clarification, sir.
Yes, sir.
So just now you told that subsidy from state government and central government is not a consideration, but
Correct.
subsidy from government company is a consideration. Whether
Correct.
NABARD is a government or company, sir?
NABARD, so what is a government company or what is a central government or state government also we may have to understand. So what is the central government and state government means any function which is a function which the government does under the constitution. That is a government. Now, suppose there is a examination which has been conducted. Now that examination is conducted by the government. Then that will be that department or the board which conducts the examination is a central government or a state government. Now, in case of NABARD, what kind of service are they providing?
And some cold storages and all, they are giving subsidies, sir. For that purpose, I asked.
Okay. Okay. So in such cases, when they are giving subsidy for cold storage or anything for the development of the industry,
Yes, sir.
okay, then they are providing in the essence of a government, then that will also be exempted.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so we were discussing on what is a business, any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, etc. is business, and any incidental or ancillary activities. Any incidental or activity or ancillary activities, then it is also covered. Now, what is incidental or ancillary? Key in terms of your business, additional services if you're providing, right, which is not your main business but is incidental or ancillary. Now you are supplier of steel pipes. You are into the business of steel pipes. That is your main business. Now, for delivering this, you are charging transportation charges. Are you into the transportation business? No, you are not into the transportation business. You are into trading, manufacturing of steel pipes. Now, as a matter of incidental activities that it has to get delivered to the customer. Okay. In such case, what you will do is you will involve a transporter and charge transportation charges. So any kind of a incidental or ancillary activities which you're doing in addition to your main business, that is also covered as a business. So this is not your main business, but this is an incidental or ancillary activity that is also considered as business itself. So transport business paying any tax? Yes. Transport business paying tax, that is their main business. Now, if you are involving this transport business, still on that GST is payable. So the main idea to cover all the businesses so that any activity which you're doing, you cannot say that, no, this is not my business, so I will not charge GST. So if you are collecting any consideration for transportation, any kind of incidental or ancillary activities you do in your business, which is not your main business, that also covers under business. Taki, क्योंकि 7(1)(a) says that it should be for a consideration and should be in the course of furtherance of business. So if for any sake, if we argue saying that transportation is not your business, then what you will say that this is outside the scope of business definition, outside the scope of supply, so I will not pay GST. Right? To avoid such a situation, what have they said? That any incidental or ancillary activity is also your business. Then if it is business, then the consideration you're receiving is towards supply, and then GST is also chargeable. Sir, Amazon and e-com expenses considered as business as it owned by Amazon? Yes, they are considered as business. Then whether or not there is a volume, frequency, continuity, or regularity. Whether you do business continuously, whether you do business of big business, if you make continuously or kind of regularly, whatever it is. So if you make big business or small business, if you do it for one day or if you do it for 1 year or if you do it continuously, there is no such restriction saying that if you do business for one day, then it is not business. Even if you're doing a one-time transaction, still it is a business. So that's the reason business says whether or not there is volume, whether you have done sale of one goods or many goods, whether you have done one time or doing it regularly, whether it is continuously being done or regular it is done or irregularly. What is the example of irregularly? An example for irregularly is that you are doing some manufacturing activity and you are not having a store, but you are selling it in an exhibition, which is there only for 2 days. So you can say only for 2 days, why should I take GST registration? It is not a supply. No, still it is a business, whether it is continuously done, whether it is done with lower frequency, whether it is done irregularly, still it is a business. Then supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services. So to do your business, you have to buy some goods. Okay. Any kind of acquisition of goods, you're doing any kind of supply of goods, including capital goods and services. What is capital goods? Capital goods means goods. Very simple in our accounting terms. What do? We capitalize the capital goods. So that is what GST is also saying. What is capitalized goods? Capital goods. The goods which are being capitalized in the books of accounts are capital goods. Okay. So supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services, is also business. Then provision of facilities to members of a club or association. This, of course, you have seen in 7(1)(a) also there is amendment, and in business also it is included. So business was already included, but 7(1)(a) was added later on. So they want to make protection from all sides, saying that no, you cannot say that GST on this business activity, GST on association is outside GST. So they're protecting themselves from all the corners and saying that from whichever corner you come, saying that is it covered under supply? We'll tell yes. Is it covered under business? Yes. Is it covered under schedule? We will say yes. So it is covered everywhere so that it should not be treated similar to the old case saying that there is a principle of mutuality. So there is no GST on it. Okay. Then admission of person to any premises. That is also business. Somebody was asking me, sir, if you just collect entry charges for that exhibition, is it business? See, this is your answer. Admission of persons to any premises is also business. Then services supplied by a person as holder of an office. Normal provision of service, we understand that if any service is provided, it is a supply transaction. But it says that service which is supplied by a person as a holder of office. What do you mean by holder of office? That if there is a independent director, okay, he doesn't take part in a company, they have appointed an independent director. Now this independent director is not holding any kind of shares. He's only an independent director. He's not involved in the business. Still, he is holding the position of an independent director. He is admission of admission of persons to any premises or services supplied by a person as a holder of office. So he is holding the office of a director. Which office? The director's office position itself he's holding, that also is covered as a business. So services supplied by a person as holder of an office is also business. Then services by a race club. So race club, if providing any services, that is also there. Then activities undertaken by the central government, state government, or any local authority. So any kind of a transaction or business, what they're doing, that is also treated as business. So government doesn't get excluded completely. The question of excluding subsidy is separate, right? The subsidy is done when the government gives some kind of subsidy, there is no kind of a supply. Here, what we are saying is when the central government, state government, or any local authority is involved in any business, then you cannot say that no, it's a government, so it is not business. If they are dealing in something, a typical example will be that you have premises on which you pay rent. Now the government also constructs some commercial plots or commercial shops on that on that they collect rent. So on will that rent be payable, or saying that no, government only has given me this, no, so why should I pay GST? No, still you have to pay GST because activities undertaken by the central government, state government, or any authority is also covered under the definition of business. Okay, so this is the ambit of business.
So for that government complexes, if we take rent, we have to pay a GST on under RCM basis, no?
Correct, sir. We have to pay RCM. For example, Nitish is asking a question. For example, I sold a new laptop which I bought for my personal use, but my neighbor demanded on the same price and I sold to them. This couldn't come under the business due to irregularity. Correct. So you'll have to see whether, even though if it is irregular, we have said that it will be covered as a business. Now, there is a personal consumption here. So if you're doing the same thing, say if you're registered and for your office, you bought something and then you sold something, then it will be considered as business. But when it is a new laptop which you buy for a personal use, so if any kind of personal use you buy and sell it, it will be personal use, no GST on that. Some cracker stalls are installed at the time of Diwali. Is that come under third point? Yes, it can come. Whether or not there is volume, frequency, whether there is no kind of continuity or regularity, still it is treated as business. You're right. What is race club? Horse racing, right? In movies, you would have seen that people give money as a betting for the horse race, saying that I will give a fixed bid amount. So bid amount you will pay, then it will be invested, then you will get the money. So those activities of the race club is also included under the definition of business. So scholarships or cash prizes provided by any organization or government come under the scope of GST? Yes. Scholarship or cash prizes provided by any organization other than central government and state government. So if you say government, which government? Is it central government or state government? Then it will come within the scope of GST. Pecuniary benefit means any kind of a monetary benefit. Okay? Any kind of commercial intent if you have, that is called as pecuniary benefit. If director is paid salary, then it would be outside the GST. Yes. So if any director is paid salary, then there is a employer-employee relationship outside GST. If he's not paid salary, so director sitting fees and all is not for being a part of the employee's role. It is for being the part of a board of directors. Okay, because if they have to hold by a person as the holder of an office, if they are holding any office, okay, then it should be completely under their control.
So in that company has to pay GST and reverse charge mechanism, no, sir, for director sitting fees under.
Yes, like how director sitting fees is there. Similarly, government providing rental services and any kind of other services which a director is providing to the company, on that also it will be payable under reverse charge. So
By company.
by the company. So what we will first understand is supply. First, it should fit under the definition of supply. Then we have to decide whether it is forward charge or reverse charge.
Okay. Other than salary, any payment to director will come under RCM, no, sir?
Correct. Correct. If I'm buying materials from a vendor who's located in SEZ, how can I get the input tax credit? So if you are a vendor, if you are buying something from the SEZ, it is not so easy that you can buy from a SEZ, correct? Because SEZ, the definition itself is a special economic zone, which means they will generally do export of services. Now, if you are buying something from a SEZ, then SEZ is getting full exemptions of customs and getting full exemption of GST when they import something. Now, if they have to clear something from a SEZ zone, then you will have to clear it as though you're importing goods from outside India. Okay, so if you're buying any material from a vendor who's located in SEZ, then it will be treated as though you're importing goods from outside India. So you have to file bill of entry, pay customs duty, and pay IGST and then claim the goods. So that IGST, what you're paying for clearing goods from SEZ, that is a credit which you can claim.
Sir,
Sir,
can you
yes, please.
can you explain service supply by a person as the holders of the office?
हाँ, वही हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि अगर कोई सर्विसेज सप्लाई करता है बाय अ पर्सन एज अ होल्डर ऑफ ऑफिस, मतलब जो पर्सन एक ऑफिस होल्ड करता है, क्या ऑफिस होल्ड कर सकता है? डायरेक्टर का ऑफिस, मतलब जो डायरेक्टर की पोजीशन में है उसे कहते हैं होल्डर ऑफ अ ऑफिस। कंपनीज एक्ट में कहा गया है कि देयर शुड बी अ पर्सन हु शैल होल्ड अ ऑफिस ऑफ अ डायरेक्टर, मतलब डायरेक्टर की जगह पे कौन बैठता है उसे कहते हैं सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय अ होल्डर, बाय अ पर्सन एज अ होल्डर ऑफ एन ऑफिस। तो जब डायरेक्टर कुछ सर्विस प्रोवाइड करता है कंपनी को, जब मीटिंग आता है तब मीटिंग अटेंड करता है, दैट इज द सर्विस व्हाट इज प्रोवाइडिंग एज अ होल्डर ऑफ ऑफिस, क्योंकि अपार्ट फ्रॉम डायरेक्टर्स वो मीटिंग में कोई नहीं जा सकता है, इट्स कॉल्ड एज बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स मीटिंग, तो फिर डायरेक्टर ही जा सकते हैं। तो उसके लिए विच ही इज अटेंडिंग एंड गेटिंग द फीस, दैट इज ऑल्सो बिजनेस।
Okay, sir. Got it.
वेलकम मैम। Sir, if for completing a contract to construct a road on behalf of government, should it come under the business or will it be exempted by tax? So there could be an exemption saying that any kind of a roads what you are constructing will be exempted. In that case, it will be a exempted service. Okay. What is the purpose reverse charge? Generally what happens, supplier doesn't pay GST. जैसे लॉयर हो गए, गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट एजेंसी हो गए, दे आर ऑल अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड, so that's why since the government cannot collect taxes from them, they are collecting under reverse charge from the recipient. What is reverse charge? Generally हम जब सप्लाई करते हैं, सप्लायर जीएसटी पे करता है गवर्नमेंट को, बट कुछ केसेस में, कुछ सर्विसेज में जब सप्लायर आपको सर्विस प्रोवाइड करता है तब रिसीवर को जीएसटी पे करना पड़ता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म। Independent director needs to pay income tax. Yes, independent director will have to pay tax on that director sitting fees. IGST input tax credit. What is your question?
Sir, I given a place 1 day leases, so it is a irregular business.
Okay.
Sir?
Yeah, if you're given the premise only for 1 day and you're not doing it regularly,
Yes,
then
sir.
it is not treated as a business.
No. Okay.
Okay, any services provided in a professional capacity, then is it a supply as a holder of office? If he's giving in his professional capacity, then he's not providing services as a person of a holder of office, then on that he will have to charge GST. Provided, of course, he is crossing the threshold limit, but generally, if they're crossing, then the service person providing services in his professional capacity will have to pay tax under forward charge. But even for reverse charge, should we register? Yes, even for reverse charge mechanism, we have to register. Okay, let's proceed further. We have discussed business. This is all the definition of business. Now, some clarifications. Ramesh sold a car which he was using for his personal use. Will it be treated as supply or no? Since he bought a car for his personal use and he's selling it, it is not a supply. Okay. Since it's personal use, personal consumption, now sold, still GST will not apply because it is not a supply, it is a personal use which he has bought and sold. Second is Mahima sold her old gold to Tanishq. Tanishq is buying old gold, so she sold off all her old gold and got in return some additional goods. Okay, so when Mahima sold her old gold to Tanishq, it is still not a supply for Mahima because she is a supplier. For Tanishq, it is a supply, but they don't have to pay any reverse charge because under reverse charge notification, there is no mention that if you buy old gold, you have to pay GST. So they will also not pay GST. SRK, Shah Rukh Khan paints some paintings and sell them. However, the consideration is donated to a charity. So in this case, what happens? He is providing some service and which is the end result is provision of charity. So will it be taxable? Yes, it will be taxable because sale of painting qualifies as a supply. Since business includes vocation, then it will get covered. Then the fourth aspect is recovery of food expenses from employees. So you provide canteen facilities, but you say employees, you have to pay me 50 rupees. Balance I will pay, but you have to pay me 50 rupees. So this, whether this recovery of rupees 50 from the employees, is it taxable? Yes, it is supply in the course or furtherance of business.
Sir, I can't understand second point. So old gold or
तो आपके पास पुराने गोल्ड के कंगन थे, आपने तनिष्क ज्वेलर्स को बेच दिया है, ठीक है, आपने सप्लाई किया है, तो फिर क्या आपको जीएसटी लगेगा? वो क्वेश्चन है यहाँ पे।
सर ओल्ड गोल्ड मतलब कि कंगन तो थे लेकिन पुराने थे, इसलिए जीएसटी नहीं लग रही है क्या?
नहीं, नए पुराने सबके ऊपर जीएसटी लगता है। आप अगर दुकान में जाओगे, पुराने चीज खरीदोगे, एंटिक बोल के भी उसको बेच देंगे, उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगाएंगे आपको, ठीक है।
यस
लेकिन बात यहाँ पे ओल्ड गोल्ड या न्यू गोल्ड की नहीं है, बात यहाँ पे है कि महिमा जो एक कस्टमर है, वो
यस सर।
अगर कुछ भी चीज बेचती है, क्या उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा?
नहीं सर, उसने कोई बिजनेस नहीं किया है तो उसके ऊपर कोई जीएसटी नहीं होगा।
करेक्ट। सो दिस सेलिंग ऑफ गोल्ड 1 or 2 times, इट इज वो उसके इन द कोर्स ऑफ फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस में नहीं है, तो इसलिए जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा।
अगर तनिष्क ज्वेलर्स ने बेचा होता तो वो बिजनेस में आता तो जीएसटी अप्लाई होता।
करेक्ट, तो तनिष्क जो भी बेचेगा उसके ऊपर जीएसटी पे करेगा।
ओके सर।
सर फॉर एग्जांपल ये मैंने पुराना गोल्ड का ज्वेलरी दिया, ठीक है, तनिष्क ज्वेलर्स को, और फिर उस पर कुछ काम कराया और उसमें मॉडिफिकेशन करा करके उनसे वापस लिया, तो क्या वो जीएसटी चार्ज होगा इसमें?
ओल्ड गोल्ड जब भी बेचते हैं तब जीएसटी नहीं लगता, क्योंकि पहले प्रोविजन क्या था जब जीएसटी आया था शुरुआत में, दैट इफ यू बाई एनीथिंग फ्रॉम एन अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन देन यू हैव टू पे जीएसटी, ठीक है। जैसे जीएसटी का लीकेज नहीं होना चाहिए, तो पहले ये था कि जब भी कोई सप्लायर अनरजिस्टर्ड है, वो किसी रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को सप्लाई करेगा, तो रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा। लेकिन लकीली वो प्रोविजन अक्टूबर 2017 में हट गया था। देव सेड दैट एनी काइंड ऑफ अ ट्रांजैक्शन वेयर इन द वैल्यू डज नॉट एक्सीड 5,000 रुपीज, इसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा।
ओके सर।
So when you sell old gold, it is not liable for GST. Tanishq can pay on RCM? No, Tanishq also need not pay on RCM. Hardik, you're right. Director sitting fees pay
When
RCM.
they are given a return that modified gold on that value consideration, they have to charge GST, na sir, under forward charge.
If they are taken the old gold, melted it and supplied something, right?
Yes, sir.
So it is like taking something and giving something. Once they return to you the modified gold, then on that full value GST will be applicable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. full value plus making charges and all, everything on everything.
Everything. Composite
Both
supplies. Everything.
goods and services, composite supply.
Yes, sir.
But sir,
Director sitting fees under RCM, but exchange of gold is not under RCM.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
सर अगर महिमा जीएसटी रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है बट शी रन्स अ रेस्टोरेंट और उसने फिर जाके तनिष्क ज्वेलर्स में बेचा और उसमें उधर से वो जीएसटी नंबर देकर जीएसटी अगर क्लेम करती है तो फिर इसको जीएसटी भरना पड़ेगा ना महिमा को?
जीएसटी क्लेम कैसे होगा ओल्ड गोल्ड बेचने पे?
महिमा रजिस्टर्ड है ना सर, जीएसटी रजिस्टर्ड है ना?
नहीं, इफ समथिंग इज मेंशन, पर्सन का नाम देते हैं और रजिस्टर्ड मेंशन नहीं करते हैं, इसका मतलब वो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है. सो महिमा इन दिस केस इज नॉन रजिस्टर्ड, अनरजिस्टर्ड अंडर जीएसटी.
ये क्वेश्चन मैं अपने साइड से पूछ रहा था सर समझने के लिए कि अगर महिमा रजिस्टर रही तो क्या होगा?
ओके, अगर रजिस्टर्ड रही और वो गोल्ड बेच रही है तो फिर जीएसटी लगेगा. यू राइट.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
Sir,
यस सर.
sir, my question is simple. Actually, in case of we are exchanging the gold for exchanging gold, whether the Spanish dollars will charge us GST, sir?
Tell that again, sir. In case of exchange of gold.
Yeah, sir. In exchange of gold, we exchange our old gold and we bought a new gold ornaments.
Huh.
Whether they will apply GST for us?
Yes, sir. They will charge. When they supply for him, there are two transactions. It is not one transaction. There is a transaction of buying gold and selling a new ornament. So on buying gold, no GST. When they sell the new ornament, on that they will apply GST.
Thank you, sir.
हेलो सर.
Yes, sir.
सर एक छोटा डाउट है, जो रिकवरी ऑफ फूड एक्सपेंसेस फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉइज आपने जो बताया 50 रुपीज एम्प्लॉय से एम्प्लॉय कलेक्ट करेगा और जो फर्दर जो रहेगा वो पे करेंगे, तो जीएसटी जो एप्लीकेबल होगा एम्प्लॉयर को वो सिर्फ 50 रुपीज के ऊपर होगा.
करेक्ट. बिकॉज एम्प्लॉयर सिर्फ 50 रुपीज कलेक्ट कर रहा है, उसके अलावा बाकी तो वो खुद का कॉस्ट है. करेक्ट. तो फिर सिर्फ जो कलेक्ट कर रहा है, व्हाट इज द कंसिडरेशन फ्लोइंग टू हिम, जो कंसिडरेशन उसको आ रहा है 50 रुपीज आ रहा है, तो 50 रुपीज के ऊपर जीएसटी पे करेगा.
ओके सर.
हेलो सर.
यस सर.
तो जो एम्प्लॉय पे कलेक्ट कर रहा है, वो अगर पार्ट ऑफ सैलरी होगा तो जीएसटी एप्लीकेबल होगा क्या उसमें?
नहीं, अभी सैलरी जो है एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉई को पे करता है. करेक्ट.
जी.
लेकिन एम्प्लॉय अगर कुछ एम्प्लॉयर को पे करता है, उसे सैलरी नहीं कहेंगे.
ओके सर. मतलब मैं बोल रहा था जैसे सैलरी का अगर पार्ट हो फीस तो.
हाँ, अगर सैलरी का पार्ट हो रीइंबर्स कर रहा तो देन इट इज पार्ट ऑफ द सैलरी. लेकिन यहाँ पे तो केस उल्टा है कि एम्प्लॉय के सैलरी से मैं डिडक्ट कर रहा हूँ. सपोज एम्प्लॉय का सैलरी 15,000 था, मैं 50 रुपीज के हिसाब से पूरे महीने का 5,000 रुपये कम करके उसको सिर्फ 10,000 दे रहा हूँ. तब मेरा एक्सपेंसेस सैलरी का 15,000 ही रहेगा. 5,000 विल बी रिकवरी ऑफ फूड एक्सपेंसेस. तो फिर बैलेंस के ऊपर सैलरी रहेगा, लेकिन ये जो रिकवरी अमाउंट है उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा.
सर आरसीएम क्या है?
सप्लायर जब टैक्स भरता है उसे कहते हैं एफसीएम, मतलब फॉरवर्ड चार्ज. और जब रिसिपिएंट पे करता है उसे कहते हैं रिवर्स चार्ज.
ओके सर.
Okay. Now let's proceed with Schedule 1. Schedule 1, what does it say? That activities without consideration is also supply. What are those activities which are covered under Schedule 1. First is there is a permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where ITC has been availed on such assets. So if you bought some asset, you have claimed input tax credit, and when you're selling that asset, then if you're selling it without consideration, like I'll give you the example later on, but any consideration which is not coming in, if you're supplying it, you're disposing it off, still you will not pay GST because you're disposing it off. So there is no consideration. Even if there's no consideration, it will be treated as a supply. It will be treated as a supply, and you have to pay GST on the open market value of that capital asset or any asset. Whatever asset you are disposing it off on the open book value. What is open market value? Open market value is nothing but the actual market value for that. On that actual market value for that product, you have to pay GST. Okay, so what are we talking about? We are talking about those cases where there is no consideration, but you have done some transaction. Whether you have to pay GST, yes, you will have to pay GST. One first is when there is a permanent transfer or disposal of business assets. What are the conditions for it? The disposal should be disposal or transfer of business asset. Second is the transfer must be permanent, nothing like a temporary transfer. You're transferring it off and then getting it back. That will not get covered. The transfer should be permanent transfer. And ITC, what is ITC? ITC means input tax credit. Input tax credit must have been availed on such business assets, which means it should not be blocked or not utilized. I'll give you two examples. First is you have bought a laptop. Now you've used your laptop for 3 years. Now it is not working very well. You want to buy a new laptop. Now this old laptop, you're thinking instead of selling it and getting 5,000 rupees, there is a NGO, I'll give it to that NGO. And you're not asking any money from them. You'd say you just keep it off. So there is a disposal of assets. Now this disposal is permanent nature. And when I bought this laptop, I have availed the input tax credit. So all these three conditions have satisfied. Now, what is the market value of this laptop? On that, I have to pay GST. Will I collect from the NGO? No, because I have not collected any consideration from them. So on this laptop disposal, I have to pay GST. Okay, that is the first example. Second example is I bought a car. Now, when I bought a car, I have paid the GST. In input tax credit, there are some category of asset called as blocked input tax credit, wherein if I buy something and if that items are specified under the blocked credit list, then I cannot claim the input tax credit. One of the items is vehicles. So if you buy a car, use it for your business, still you cannot claim the input tax credit. Now you have bought a car, used it, same like the laptop sale, you have disposed it off. So on this, will you pay GST or no? Think of the question we'll discuss after the break. I'll repeat the question. A laptop bought and sold, on that we have to pay GST. But a car which is blocked credit, you have bought it and you are giving it to a pay GST on it. We'll catch at 4 o'clock for a 10 minutes break and we'll discuss further. Okay, so the answers, what I've got is mostly correct by few people, that it is a block credit, which means I have not availed the input tax credit. So if I have not availed the input tax credit on the car, then I don't have to pay GST, because all the three conditions has to be met, that I should have availed the ITC. On that car, I have not availed the ITC. It is a blocked credit. So I have not availed the ITC. So when I'm disposing it off, I don't have to pay any GST. The logic is simple. If I've claimed the credit while buying it, now when I sell it, okay, I don't have to pay GST. If I have to pay the GST, sorry, if I avail the credit, then on disposal, if there is consideration or no consideration, I have to pay GST. But while purchasing, I did not claim the credit. It means I didn't take the benefit that time. So while selling, I don't have to pay any GST. Okay. So with respect to this, there is a question. Let me take you to that question directly. Yeah. Read this question. We will come to the MCQ later on, but still this is relevant. So I'm linking you this question. Read the question and tell me the answer for this. Yep. Everybody saying answer is, I can't see ITC avail or not. Yes, that is the question. That's way. But what do you see, Shruti? You can't see that ITC is availed or no. But what else do you see in the question? Let me tell you. Very few, one or two have identified the question correctly. Everything is saying, yes, it is a sale of asset, saying no, since ITC was not claimed. On what basis are you saying it? So just saying yes or no is not sufficient. Yes. Fine. You have to mention why is it no, you don't have to pay GST, because of course there is no consideration. But when you had purchased, where did you claim the ITC or no? That is very important. No consideration, fine, Kushi. Just no consideration is fine, or should we fall back to Schedule 1? In Schedule 1, we'll say even if there's no consideration, is GST is payable. But when GST is payable, GST is payable on a supply without consideration when I have claimed the input tax credit. In this case, have you claimed the input tax credit? Somebody is saying, I don't know. Question is half. Question is not giving full details, but question is giving full details. When did GST come into place? On 1st July 2017. Before, so this is purchased in 1st January 2015. So can you claim GST credit before GST came in? You cannot claim. So in this claim, in this case, GST is not claimed. So that's why when you're making an outward supply, you don't have to pay GST, because since ITC was not claimed at the time of purchase and there is no consideration. Okay, so the correct answer is D. Since it will not be given in the question whether you have claimed the credit or no, you will have to make out. Your date is given. Sometimes they may give the nature of the goods saying that car is purchased. Then you will have to give an answer saying that car is a blocked credit. So at the time of purchase, credit is not claimed. So on the making of supply, GST is not payable.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, during the transformation from VAT to GST, VAT credit was given to GST converted, na sir. That how to treat it, sir?
So that is a transition credit which was given. Okay? That is a transition credit, but the condition under Schedule 1 is they have not said whether ITC or SENVAT. They have only said that where ITC has been availed.
Okay, sir.
When they specifically say ITC, we have to think only that ITC have not claimed, so I don't have to pay GST.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Schedule 1, point number 1 is clear. Point number 2 says supply between related persons or distinct persons. So when I make any supply between related person or distinct person, if it should be made in the course or furtherance of business. So for that, it is necessary for us to understand what is related persons. So we'll go to the definition of related persons. Related person means such persons who are officers or directors of one other business. So if you have a business and there are officers or directors of one other business, then that is a related person. When such persons are legally recognized partners in a business, when such persons are employer and employee. So employer and employee also, even though it is excluded under Schedule 3, they are also related persons. Then any persons who are directly or indirectly holding more than 25% share. So we'll see sometimes 51% under Companies Act. Here it is holding directly or indirectly 25% or more of the voting rights of the shares. Then one of them directly or indirectly controls. How? I am a shareholder who is having, I'm a director who is having major rights in the company. So I can directly or through any other company, step subsidiary. I am a subsidiary. I am having a subsidiary. That subsidiary is holding another company. So directly or indirectly also I'm having control. Then both these companies, there are two companies, they are directly being controlled by a third person. Then this two companies will be called as related companies. So if you see, the ambit of related is so wide that any direct or indirect control, any direct or indirect control by a third person also will make me as a related company. And third is together. If there are two companies, they both are directly or indirectly controlling a third person, or they are all members of the same family, they are also related person. These are the 7 clauses. 8th clause is members of the same family. Who is a family? Family means generally what we understand. Spouse is husband, wife, children, and parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, if they are wholly or mainly dependent on this person. That is the definition of family. Then if there's any sole agent or concessionaire or distributor, which means if I'm having only one agent to distribute my products, it could not be that the sole agent for whole over India. For one region, for one locality, for one region, if you have one sole agent, then he is also related. So these are the related parties which are influence, and any kind of transaction between these related parties will be what? Supply between related persons also will be without consideration. Now, what you will supply between related persons, generally we have discussed this, that if I make any kind of a sale of goods, then it will be treated as related person. That from one company to another company, boss, I'm related to you, so you charge me less transaction, or you don't charge me any consideration. Okay, I will not charge you consideration. But GST will say, you guys are related, I understand, but you are covered under Schedule 1. I know you will do all this Gapla transaction. Being related, I do not trust your value. So if you are related person and you are not charging any consideration, then you will have to pay GST on the consideration, which is the open market value. So the question here is, if I supply something to a related person and I charge consideration which is less than the market value, now the other person can claim the credit. Is it acceptable, or should I still go to Schedule 1? Vinuta, what is block credit? Kasab, what is blocked assets? मतलब दो क्रेडिट है जो परचेज हम करते हैं जिसके ऊपर ऑन विच वी कैन नॉट क्लेम द क्रेडिट. They are a specific list called as block credit under section 17. It includes few things like food expenses. Those expenses, those assets which are mentioned under those block credit, we cannot claim the credit of that. They are called as blocked credit list. So can we say if we have significant influence, then we are related? Yes, you can say so. But how much significant influence is also defined under the law? Because sometimes 10% also you may say significant, sometimes you may say something else. So the related person definition is defined. Can you just show me the previous screen? Yeah, sure. Any doubts in this? But if family members are not dependent, yes, if family members are not dependent, they will not be considered relative. But which family members? There are two categories. One is spouse and children. Spouse and children, whether related or unrelated, not defined. So spouse and children will always be related, but other family members, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, these four people, if they are related, only then they will be treated as family.
सर सोल एजेंट एंड कंसेशनरीज और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के बारे में बताइए, रिलेटेड
हाँ.
पार्टी के बारे में.
तो अगर आपके पास एक ही एजेंट है जो पूरा सप्लाई करता है आपके कस्टमर्स को, वो सोल एजेंट हो जाएगा. कंसेशनर और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर वो होता है जो एक ही डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर होता है जो आपके पूरे सेल्स को कंट्रोल करता है. मतलब आपके सेल तो आप ही करेंगे, लेकिन जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है या जिसको सप्लाई करना है उसको वो कंट्रोल करता है. उसे कहते हैं कंसेशनर और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर. तो अगर एक ही बंदा है जो आपके पूरा सेल को कंट्रोल करता है, वो थर्ड पार्टी रहने दीजिए, लेकिन बाय द नेचर ऑफ योर बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शन वो रिलेटेड बन जाता है, बिकॉज ही इज अ सोल पर्सन. वो पूरा कंट्रोल सेल्स का उसके पास रहता है, तो इसीलिए वो रिलेटेड पर्सन बन जाता है.
ओके सर.
Open market value is the market value what it is sold. When you say open market value, we'll come to the valuation. But open market value आपके syllabus में नहीं है. Just for your information, I'll give it to you, because open market value is defined under the valuation rules. What is open market value is if I sell the same product to a third person who is not related and who is not influencing the price, then what value you will sell, that is considered as a open market value. That will not be the highest or lowest. That will be the price at which similar products are sold. That is called as open market value. Basically, at arm's length without influence, perfect. That is the price which is in GST terms called as open market value. Okay. So now we'll continue with our schedule 1, because we'll not complete the schedule 1 otherwise. So any kind of supply between related persons or there is another word here called as distinct person. ये क्या है भाई? This we have never heard in income tax or any other law. What is this new thing? Yes, this is a new thing under GST, which says that if you make any supply between related persons or distinct person, then also it is treated as covered under Schedule 1. Who is a related person or a distinct person? This we have to understand the registration. We understood the registration the last class, right? That registration you can do either in one state. If you are having multiple branches, you take one registration, or you can take multiple registrations for multiple branches in a state. If you take multiple registrations for multiple places, then each registered entity is called as a distinct person. Okay, the establishment of a person with separate registration. I'm reading the definition. The establishment of a person with separate registration, whether within the state or in different state, are considered as a distinct person. That is one. Second, where a person having a registered establishment in a state has another establishment in another state or another union territory, whether that is registered or not, is also treated as a establishment of a distinct person. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Whatever stock transfer I do between distinct person will qualify as a supply. Okay, wherein I am having multiple registrations in our state, or having registration in one state and having another branches in another state. But what is excluded here? If I have one registration in a state for all the branches, I can have that. The option to take registration in a state, one registration or multiple registrations, is optional. I can take one registration for all 10 branches in my state, or I can take 10 separate registrations. If I take 10 separate registrations, then they are treated as distinct persons. If I take one registration for all the states, then it is not treated as a distinct person. Then when any transfer between those 10 branches is not a supply. Okay. Let us understand this with example. I have a registered office in Delhi and I have a registered branch office in West Bengal. Are these two considered as a distinct person? Yes, they are treated as a distinct person because they are having separate registration and they are in two different states. Now, let me flip this question. I have an establishment in Maharashtra and I have an unregistered shop in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is different state, Mara is in different state. Still, it will be treated as an establishment of a distinct person because this is in between two states. If you have registration in one state and another place, you have registration in that state or no, since a state border is involved, right? This is one state and this is one state. So दो स्टेट होने पे whether ये registered है या unregistered है, दोनों distinct person ही रहेंगे. अगर सेम स्टेट में हो तो मानवी आपके लिए नेक्स्ट स्लाइड है. ओके, वेरन अगर सेम स्टेट में है, रजिस्टर्ड इन लखनऊ फैक्ट्री, रजिस्टर्ड दिल्ली शोरूम, ठीक है, दोनों अगर सेम स्टेट में है, लखनऊ में है और दिल्ली में, ये तो डिफरेंट स्टेट हो गए, ठीक है, स्टॉक ट्रांसफर रहेगा बिकॉज इट्स अ डीम्ड सप्लाई सिंस इट इज विद इन डिफरेंट स्टेट. लेकिन लखनऊ और कानपुर तो दोनों एक ही स्टेट में है. अगर इन दोनों का registration एक ही है, अगर if I take single registration, then that stock transfer is not a supply because they are not distinct person. लेकिन अगर मैंने single registration नहीं लिया है, if I've taken registration 1 over here and separate registration for this as registration 2, then it will be treated as a distinct person. Clear? Sir, can a partnership firm sell goods to the partner of the firm with the same price of the firm purchased goods? Yes, they can do it, provided the partner is registered. If he is registered, then they can do it. Otherwise, they will have to do it at the market value. Registered and unregistered in the same state, not possible, because if you are registered in a state, you cannot have an unregistered business in the same state. You will have to either include it in the same registration or have to take a separate registration.
Sir, but in other state we can have, na?
Sir,
Yes, sir. In other state, you can have unregistered.
Okay, okay.
sir,
Sir,
Yes, yes.
sir, हार्दिक
हार्दिक बोल रहे हैं?
हाँ जी सर.
Yes, ask your question, please.
Sir, in case of distinct establishments, if we supply any kind of stock or any kind of goods or any kind of services, then it is not a supply.
You are partly correct, because Schedule 1 says supply between related persons should be only of goods. So it should be of goods. For services, it doesn't say anything.
For services, it will be taxable.
Let me see, because there are two things. One is here it says supply between related person, and for principal agent it says only supply of goods. So Schedule 1 says supply of goods or services. I think it is both. It is both.
So sir, in both the cases,
Supply of goods or services or both. So in both the cases. So it is not only goods, it is both goods or services.
okay sir, then it will be not liable to GST in case of distinct establishments.
In case of distinct establishment, it will be liable to GST.
sir, I clarify my
एक मिनट हार्दिक का क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट होने दीजिए. So Hardik, in both the cases, if it is distinct person, then it is liable to GST.
Distinct नहीं sir, establishment पूछ रहा था.
Even in case of distinct person or establishment of distinct person, in both the cases, it will be liable to GST.
ठीक है sir. Thank you sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, single registration, here is no distinct person, or multiple registration in a distinct person. It is clear, sir, as a
Within the
concept.
state. If within the state, what you're saying is correct. If within the state, one registration, then no distinct person. If within the state, multiple registration, then distinct person. Okay.
Okay,
But
sir.
within the state, registered, and outside the state, not registered, still
Yes.
it is a establishment of distinct person.
Okay.
And also registration in a state, outside state registered, still establishment of distinct person.
मतलब कि सर एक स्टेट के अंदर रजिस्ट्रेशन है और दूसरे स्टेट के अंदर अनरजिस्टर्ड है, तो वहाँ पे स्टेबलाइज ऑफ डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन होगा.
करेक्ट.
ओके, क्लियर फायर सर मेरा कॉन्सेप्ट.
सर ये रजिस्टर्ड एंड अनरजिस्टर्ड सेम फर्म की बात हो रही है ना?
हाँ, सेम फर्म की बात हो रही है, नॉट एनीबडी एल्स. यस.
हेलो सर.
यस सर.
सर जैसा जैसा कि पिछले एग्जांपल्स में आपने बताया कि अगर दोनों ऑफिस अगर सेम स्टेट में हो तो उसमें जीएसटी लेबल हम नहीं कर सकते. लेकिन सपोज अगर पहले हमने एक फैक्ट्री खोली और उसी स्टेट में दूसरे शोरूम से हम
आपकी आवाज ठीक से नहीं आ रही है. हेलो,
am I audible, sir?
या बेटर नाउ, थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए।
सर सपोज हमने एक फैक्ट्री खोला और उसका उससे हम अपना रॉ मटेरियल दूसरे शोरूम में बेचते हैं। लेकिन कुछ कुछ साल बाद हमको कुछ समय बाद हमको ये ऐसा लगता है कि अगर हम वही सामान अपने शोरूम में बेचते हैं तो हमको ज्यादा फायदा होता है। तो हमने उस दूसरे कंपनी को वो सामान देना बंद कर दिया और हमने खुद के शोरूम में उसको बेचना स्टार्ट कर दिया। तो क्या फिर भी हम जीएसटी के लिए लिएबल है ऐसे सप्लायर?
कौन से सप्लाई के लिए? आपने जो शोरूम को भेजा या शोरूम से आप बेच रहे हो उसका पूछ रहे हो आप?
जो सप्लाई कर रहे हैं।
जो आप सप्लाई कर रहे हो आपके गोडाउन से शोरूम तक।
जी।
तो आपके गोडाउन और शोरूम में अगर आपने दोनों का मिला के एक ही रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया है, ठीक है, अलग अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं लिया है, तो उस सप्लाई के ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि आप दोनों एक ही रहेंगे। लेकिन अगर आप जनरली वही करेंगे आप, क्योंकि आप मल्टीपल रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं लेंगे। अलग अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन करने इसमें क्या दिक्कत होती है, अलग अलग रिटर्न्स फाइल करना पड़ता है, अलग अलग बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स मेंटेन करना पड़ता है। तो आप एक ही रजिस्ट्रेशन लेंगे और दोनों के एड्रेस दिखा देंगे, तो आप जो भी गोडाउन से वे आपके शोरूम में सप्लाई करेंगे उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। शोरूम से जब आप बेचेंगे तब जीएसटी लगेगा।
ओके।
If old machine is disposed of, then the open market price will be at the depreciated machine or the similar new machine. Not similar new machine, at the depreciated price itself. What is the price for the similar machine in that condition? So you have not said same machine, you have said similar machine, which means at that condition itself. Which means one state, one registration. Arun Kumar, one state, one registration is not compulsory, it's optional. It's optional. Yeah, in case of distinct person, supply of goods or services, both liable to GST. Correct. One person only having one registration, ऐसा compulsory, this is not compulsory, Vinuta. One person can have multiple registrations, but one person will have only one PAN. So your registrations is a 15-digit number. First 2 digit is the state code. Next 10 digit is your PAN number. Then 3 unique digits will come. So the 10 digits will be same. The last 3 digits will change. So one person can have multiple registrations.
No, sir. One person having only one PAN card. That's why.
Correct.
Only.
You can have one PAN card, but
Yeah.
no restriction under GST that one PAN card you will get only one registration. In one PAN card, you can have more than one registration.
Oh, okay, sir.
Sir, this is Sai Charan.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, sorry, in the second case, establishment of distinct persons. Uh, if a business registered in Maharashtra, the unregistered shop in Uttar Pradesh means it was not registered in Uttar Pradesh, or else the shop itself was not registered in GST, sir.
Unregistered in GST, sir. Only talking about unregistered under GST.
Okay, sir.
Can we take only one registration for different states like this? Like in this example of one registration in UP for multiple locations in UP, you can take one registration. So like that, for Lucknow and Delhi, can we take one registration?
Yes, sir.
We cannot take. So GST is not a central registration. You cannot take one registration for multiple states. Within a state, multiple branches, you can take one registration. But for multiple states, you cannot take a single registration. You cannot take. So you have to take state-wise registration. Okay. So now we will get back to Schedule 1 and proceed further. This is supply between related persons. It should be made in the course of furtherance of business. Then there is a proviso which says that provided that gifts not exceeding rupees 50,000, not exceeding 50,000 in value in a financial year by an employer to an employee shall not be treated as supply of goods or services. What does it mean? It says that employer and employee are related person. So any kind of supply by the employer to employee is salary. Now that salary is excluded again under GST by Schedule 3. But it says that if the employer gives any gifts to the employee, he cannot give so much of gifts and tell that it is outside GST. So they have set up a limit saying that if the employer is giving gift to the employee, he can give up to the value of 50,000 rupees. The gift value up to 50,000 rupees per employee, not all employees put together, per employee. If he is giving up to 50,000 rupees permitted, above 50,000 rupees, it will be taxable. Okay. Third point, any kind of principal and agent, any transfer between principal and agent of only goods. So here I was getting confused whether goods or services at Schedule 2 with point number 2. Point number 2 is both goods and services, but point number 3, transfer between principal to agent is only supply of goods and not supply of services. So principal agent supplying any services, no problem. But principal and agent supplying any goods without consideration, still you have to attach consideration and liable to GST. Then last is importation of service. Importation of service we have already seen under 7(1)(b). This importation of service is different. This is importation from related persons or establishments located outside India. So if you are importing anything from a foreign entity which is related to you, then on that importation, you will have to pay GST under reverse charge, even if there is no consideration. Now, if that importation without consideration, if you're doing, okay, from a unrelated party, then no GST. But if you're importing from a related party, then it is liable to GST. We will discuss this in detail. So distinct person, we understood. Now we'll go with the employer-employee. We said that employer-employee, what to do? In terms of definition of related person, firstly, employer and employee are related persons. So does it mean salary is liable to GST?
No, sir, salary is liable to 192 TDS.
194 TDS under income tax. What is the treatment of
192.
GST?
No, sir, it is not liable to GST.
Because you are paying TDS?
Sir, previous just now you have completed a topic na, in that if a company is having any branch outside India and if they are getting any services from outside India, for the contract received in India, Indian company has received a contract. For that foreign branch has provided services and that services they have taken back. So whether it is import GST is applicable or not, sir?
Service is provided by the foreign company, foreign branch.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Foreign branch provided services to the customer.
Yes, sir.
What is the role of the Indian branch?
They have received that service and to supply it to their customers.
Okay, so foreign branch providing services to Indian branch providing to the customer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So foreign branch providing any service to the Indian branch, if you
Yes, sir.
see under their establishment of a distinct person.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you see under the conditions of export and import, the supplier and receiver should not be establishment of a distinct person.
Yes, sir.
If they are establishment of a distinct person, then it will not be a export nor be a import.
Okay.
So it will not be an import transaction.
So no, sir, no GST.
No GST, right?
Okay, whether I can mention it or not, just I'm telling whether it is right or not wrong, I don't know. As per Infosys news, I'm asking this doubt, sir, whether it is relevant, sir, for that.
There, what happened, the distinction there was they were not a branch. They are opened up a separate entity.
Okay, okay.
If you have a branch, what you're saying is right. But if you have a separate company which is formed there,
Okay.
then it is a separate establishment.
Then whether it is taxable or not, sir?
It is taxable, but there is some development which has happened through which some notification has come and they have treated it as not taxable.
So even for some airlines companies also notice or came, sir, that some
Correct.
airlines.
So they've come up with a notification saying that if you are able to claim the credit, then you don't have to charge GST. That's it.
So they have not claimed, sir. Credit they have not claimed.
They have not paid. The question was not on claiming the credit. The question was whether reverse charge will come there.
So they have not paid any reverse charge for that.
Correct. Correct. They have not paid reverse charge.
So it is in order, sir. So as on today, it is in order as per GST circulars.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Salary is not liable to GST. Why, sir? Schedule 2 says any supply of goods between related persons and related persons employer and employees related. So why it is not liable to GST, the salary portion?
Sir, one income cannot be taxed twice in as per the law of tax. So if it is taxed in income tax, then why will it be taxed in GST?
So when you make any sales, you will pay GST. So it means on that sale, you will not pay income tax?
No, sir.
You will pay income tax also.
Sir, please repeat.
So you have said that on one, there cannot be two taxes.
Yes, sir.
So when you are making sale of laptops, a laptop dealer is making sale of laptops, he's collecting GST. Correct? He's paid the GST.
Yes,
now,
sir.
When he shows that as his income, on that he will not pay income tax because according to you, he has paid one tax, so he will not pay income tax.
Sir, he will pay tax in PGBP. Just for salary it is.
No. Only for one thing you cannot exclude one separate logic, and for another logic, that is not correct.
Okay, sir.
So even under income tax, if you're paying something, you may be liable to pay GST on that on two different aspects. This is called as aspect theory. So when you have the aspect of income under GST, under income tax, you're paying tax on the income, and on the same aspect, you are paying GST on the supply. On one transaction, there could be two different aspects. Okay. This was held in the old laws, even in the new laws, that on the same transaction, renting. Now, when you give any property on rent, on that rent, you are paying income tax, but on the same rent, you have to pay GST also, because there it is on the aspect of income. Here it is on the aspect of renting. So there are different aspects. But the reason why GST on salary is not there is, firstly, it is covered under Schedule 2, but it is also covered under Schedule 3. Correct? I was discussing just a minute back that any items in Schedule 3 says that on these transactions, there will not be any supply. So that is the reason why we are not paying GST on salaries. Okay? Since salary, the transaction of employer paying salary to employee is excluded, is specifically mentioned under GST in Schedule 3. That's the reason on that supply, we are not paying any GST. But since services provided by an employee to the employer, again, the concept of consideration, who is giving the consideration? The employer is giving the consideration. So who is receiving? The employee is receiving the salary, which means he is providing the service. he is providing his service to the company, so company is paying him salary. So in this case, services are provided by the employee to the employer, which is in Schedule 3. But when a gift is provided, the service is provided by the employer to employee. Now, if he is giving that gift, that could be liable to GST. So there is a cap. They've said that if you give gifts beyond a limit, we will tax you. So you give gifts, no problem, but keep it under limit. Give gifts up to 50,000 rupees per employee per year, then we will not levy GST. If the gifts are of a value above 50,000, then it will be liable to GST.
Sir, if other than regular salary, if employee is taken on contract basis, that is liable to GST, no, sir?
If the employee is taken on contract basis, then there is no employer-employee relationship.
Yes, sir. That is liable for GST and reverse charge mechanism payable by employer.
Not liable for reverse charge. Why liable for reverse charge? Liable for forward charge. Supplier is a contractor. Contractor will charge GST.
Okay, okay. So employer is a contractor.
Correct.
So employer is paying GST under forward charge.
Correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I can't understand point A. Sir, in this income tax and GST both of apply or GST applies, sir? Hello?
Yes, in this both can apply, but I'm saying you have to understand the logic. तो सैलरी के ऊपर GST नहीं लगेगा ऐसा फिक्स्ड रूल नहीं है, ठीक है? सैलरी के ऊपर GST लग सकता है, लेकिन एक शेड्यूल है GST में, वो वहां पे मैं आपको लेके चलता हूं, उसे कहते हैं शेड्यूल 3, ठीक है? ये है शेड्यूल 3 जो बोलता है एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉई। इसका हेडिंग क्या है? नॉन सप्लाईज अंडर GST। GST में इन चीजों को सप्लाई नहीं माना गया है, उसमें एम्प्लॉय प्रोवाइडिंग सर्विसेज टू द एम्प्लॉयर, उसको GST से बाहर रख दिया गया है।
Yes,
इस वजह से GST सैलरी के ऊपर नहीं लगेगा।
ओके, इनकम टैक्स तो लगेगा?
इनकम टैक्स तो लगेगा,
ओके,
लेकिन शेड्यूल 2 और शेड्यूल 3 में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहा है, तो उसको मैं धीरे धीरे से निकाल रहा हूं। दोनों रिलेटेड पर्सन है, GST लगेगा, लेकिन शेड्यूल 3 में आ गया इसीलिए नहीं लग रहा है।
ओके सर, अंडरस्टैंड सर।
So then that means the taxable event is important more than the amount we are taxing, right? Sir?
Correct.
Thank you.
If there is a bonus to the employee, then GST will apply. Bonus is given in the in aspect of the employment contract itself. So bonus also will partake the character of a salary. So even on bonus, GST will not apply. Bonus will be treated alike to salary. Now, what happens when the perquisites are given to the employer to employee? What are perquisites? Perquisites means the employee is given salary. Then to please the employee more, the company is giving him rent-free stay. It's called as rent-free accommodation. They are giving him travel benefits. All of that they're giving and spoiling the employee. I mean, they're giving to the employee. Now, if these benefits are given to the employee, will that be taxable? The board thought over this and they said any perquisite which is provided by the employer to employee are in terms of that employment contract. So they are in lieu of the services provided by the employee to employer. Therefore, the perquisites provided by the employer in terms of contractual agreement, wherein in the agreement you have said that if you give me rent-free accommodation, if you give me travel benefit, only then I will join your company. Then they are part of that employment contract. They are not outside the employment contract. So it will not be subjected to GST. This will not be subjected to GST when they are provided in terms of a same contract to all the employer and employee. But ITC of membership of a club, health and fitness center, On this, the company which pays the membership fees for the employees, they cannot say that, no, this is also part of the employment contract, so I can claim the credit. They are also again part of that block credit. So any membership fees, what they pay, health and fitness center charges, that will all be blocked credit. On that, they cannot claim the credit. Now, free housing to all employees can be considered as a contractual arrangement, but the circular itself says that both the views are possible. One, you can say that free housing to employees are part of the contractual agreement, but alternatively, they can say that it is liable since they are related parties. So both the views are possible in this case. Madam, reverse charge, we will discuss in the next session. There we have a separate understanding on reverse charge. It is very detailed. We'll understand there. Perquisites are a part of package amount. Yes, it is part of the package amount itself, wherein they agree saying that these are the perquisites which we will give it to you. In block credit, ITC can't be claimed. Yes, in block credit, the meaning name itself is blocked credit. Credit means which is available to you. Now, block means they're blocking the credit. So if it is block credit, we cannot claim the credit.
Sir, why ITC of membership of club and health and fitness kept under the block charge?
See, the block credit itself has so many items, but there is no logic why they have kept. The lawmakers decided that they have to keep it over there, so they have kept it. There is no logic why they have kept, why they have not kept.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that is on employer and employee relationship. On what cases perquisites becomes taxable? If any gifts are given, sir, any perquisites given is considered as a part of salary. No GST on perquisites. But apart from perquisites, if they give any gifts, on that gifts above 50,000 rupees of gifts, liable to GST. Simple, sir. It can be in cash or it can be in kind. If cash prize of 1 lakh is given by the organization to the student on the basis of an exam, and on it 31.2% TDS is deducted, so the GST will be charged on 1 lakh or 68,800 at which rate? If they're given cash prize, it means it is in the nature of gift. Now, gift they're giving 1 lakh, TDS they're giving. Now, TDS you think will go to whom? Will go to that person only as is credit to him. So, what is the value? Not the amount what you're giving. What is the value of the cash prize you're giving him? The value of the cash prize is 1 lakh rupees. So, on 1 lakh, GST is payable. What is the exact meaning of perquisites? Perquisites means any kind of, I'll tell you the definition. Whatever extra benefits what the company gives, that is called as perquisites. Okay.
Sir, can you explain free housing all employees in this as employees children provide free study in school. So in this library,
all of that parts becomes part of the perquisites itself. So if it is part of the employment contract, then the same logic what we said will apply. If it is part of the employment contract, then it will not be subjected to GST.
okay, sir. So you're not.
तो क्या होता है generally if you are providing some work to mining people, जहाँ पे बहुत दूर दराज में जाना होता है, वहां पे उनके बच्चों को ठहरने के लिए यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड हाउसिंग एंड यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड स्कूलिंग. तो वहां पे कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल ऑब्लिगेशन ही होता है कि आपको इनका घर गृहस्थी और पढ़ाई भी देखना पड़ता है. तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल अग्रीमेंट में कवर होता है, इसलिए उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा.
Okay, sir. Understand.
Yes, somebody was asking, madam.
Excuse me, sir. What about the sample products?
Sample products provided by the employer to the employee or general sample?
Employer to the employee.
So sample can be provided either to the employer to the employee, or it can be provided to anybody else. When any sample products are provided under GST, again input tax credit says that when you are providing any sample input tax credit, you have to reverse. Generally, in pharmaceuticals, you will see that samples are provided for new products. They are given to doctors and things. In all that situations, input tax credit on that inputs which is used for production of that sample has to be reversed.
Okay, sir.
Free housing to employees are liable to GST or no? सर इसमें दो व्यूज दिए गए हैं आपके स्टडी मटेरियल में भी आप पढ़ सकते हैं. यू कैन जस्ट रीड योर स्टडी मटेरियल ऑल्सो. दे आर सेइंग फ्री हाउसिंग टू एम्प्लॉइज कैन बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल अरेंजमेंट, but they themselves are saying alternatively it can be said that it is liable to GST. So both the views they're saying this also and that also, sir. Next is principal to agent. Now, when is principal to agent liable to GST? When you supply goods by a principal to his agent without consideration, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal. Okay, when the supplier agent is undertaking to supply goods on behalf of the principal, it is considered as a supply, not otherwise. Here, it includes only supply of goods and not services. Now, to clarify the thing, the deciding factor is whether the invoice for this further supply is on behalf of the principal is being issued by the agent or no. So this circular gave this clarification because it was very confusing. So firstly, what is the deciding factor? Now the invoice for the further supply is being issued by the agent in his own name. He is kind of buying the goods from the supplier and he is selling it in his own name. Then it is covered under para 3, it's a supply. But if the invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the name of principal, in the principal name only he is supplying, then it means he is not covered under Schedule 3. It does not fall under para 3 of this Schedule 2. And when the goods are procured mean buying, bought by the agent on behalf of the principal or invoiced in the name of agent, then it will fall under para 3. Okay, so whenever any supply is made by the agent or any goods are bought by the agent in his own name, then Schedule 2 will apply. Then that any transaction between principal and agent will be liable to GST. But if he is not invoicing in his name, he is invoicing in the principal's name itself, then there is no Schedule 2 because it will be like a direct sale, but he is only getting involved in between. Clear till now?
Sir, given the example in 3 points.
Oh, you need any example for all of these 3 points? Okay. So first is principal means Reliance. Reliance के products बहुत सारे हैं. Now Reliance is selling a Jio mobile. Now Jio mobile, I am saying I am an agent. Now the invoice for this supply is issued by my name. Jio का नाम तो रहेगा because the product will have Jio, but the invoice is in the name of Deepak. So when Deepak is selling it, then it is covered under para 3, which means any kind of supply by the Reliance to me without consideration is also liable to GST. Okay. Second condition is invoice is issued by Reliance itself. My name is not involved. I am only helping the customer to get the goods from the supplier, or I am helping Reliance to find the customer. I am only involved in getting my agency charges. There, I am not getting involved anywhere. So there is no transaction between the principal and me. Third situation is where I am buying any goods. Reliance ko goods chahiye, but the supplier is supplying to me. और मेरे नाम पे बिल रेज कर रहा है, then once I give this goods back to Reliance, even without transaction, GST will apply. Where the invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the name of principal, then he will be an agent? No. If the invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the name of this agent itself, then it will be liable under Schedule 1. Clear है?
So second point again explain कीजिए ना sir.
हाँ, एजेंट अगर बिल देता है कस्टमर को, उसके नाम पे, एजेंट के नाम से ही बिल देता है, then he will be an agent, then he is an agent. But if he does not give bill in his name, a principal agent समझना चाहिए. Who is a principal? Principal is one who wants to sell the goods, but he does not reach to the customer directly. A agent comes in between. Now, if the agent comes in between, so there is principal P, there is an agent, and there is a customer. Now, if the principal sells goods to the customer directly in his own name, okay, then what is the agent doing? Agent is only connecting the principal and the customer. He will only get his agency or commission charges. That is, of course, liable to GST. So there is no supply between principal and agent because there is a supply directly by the principal and customer. Correct? Then whether he will be an agent under para 3 of Schedule 1? No, because he is not an agent, because जो सप्लाई हो रहा है प्रिंसिपल और कस्टमर के बीच में हो रहा है. इन सेकेंड सिनारियो, प्रिंसिपल इज गिविंग सम गुड्स टू द एजेंट and agent is selling to the customer. So there are two contracts, principal to agent and agent to customer. So there are two contracts. In this case, agent तो सेल करेगा कस्टमर को. नाउ प्रिंसिपल जो एजेंट को गुड सप्लाई कर रहा है, this will get covered under Schedule 2, and any value of the goods what is being supplied उसके ऊपर GST लगेगा. Clear?
Yes sir, better clear.
Amazon and Flipkart are not examples of agent and principal. Amazon and Flipkart are e-commerce companies. So for them, the tax treatment is completely separate. We will not mix them here. These are all live cases where big Reddington, जैसे बड़े बड़े agents होते हैं who are getting involved. Those cases, this will get applied.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, if a taxable person has an establishment in Punjab and Haryana, and the same taxable person makes the taxable supplies from both the establishment, then the supplies from Punjab establishment to Haryana or Haryana to Punjab, vice versa, shall be treated as a supply between the distinct persons, in spite of the fact that the both establishments are belongs to the same person.
Yeah, even if it is to the same person, it will be treated as taxable supply because they are supplies made to establishment of distinct person.
Sir, if such supply is without consideration?
Yes, if without consideration, only then. Because if it is without consideration, then it will come under Schedule 1. So then you will have to give the value for that and pay GST. The interesting part is the value can be any value. The rules, when we see, they say that if the receiver is able to claim the credit, then whatever value you charge, that is a acceptable value.
Yes, sir.
Clear? So that on valuation, you should not argue later on. So the government is giving a benefit that when the receiver can claim the credit, then we will not question you on the valuation. Whatever value you provide, we will accept that value.
Sir, here market rate is not applicable, sir.
So the valuation rule says that when the supplier and receiver and any service is provided and the receiver is able to claim the credit, then whatever value is declared in the invoice, that is considered as the valuation.
That is when consideration is there, sir. When there is no consideration, I must.
So when no consideration, again, that similar case of Infosys, what you were asking.
Okay.
That provision is now come wherein that whatever value you charge, fine. If you don't charge a value, zero is also value.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll meet again on Thursday and we'll continue. Probably the supply chapter, this was more complicated, so we took more time. Next class, we will be a fast trap and we will discuss on the other circulars and complete it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.